Warren Buffett said you could hand a rival $100 billion and they still couldn't take this company's crown. Sugar water, sold for 150 years. This advertisement is from the year 1900, and the product in it hasn't changed since. So what are you actually looking at? Because it isn't a drink, it's a machine. This is Great Businesses, where we open one famous company and find the machine inside it. Not the stock, the business. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why perfect isn't a joke. Here's the scale of the thing. Every single day, in roughly 200 countries, people drink more than 2 billion servings of this company's products. 2 billion a day. And here's the strange part. The company that sells them owns almost none of the bottling plants, almost none of the trucks, and almost none of the shops. What it owns fits in a vault and in your head. That's the machine we're opening. Atlanta, 1886. A pharmacist named John Pemberton mixes a syrup as a headache tonic and sells it at a soda fountain for 5 cents a glass, about 9 glasses a day the first year. Pemberton dies within 3 years, having sold the rights for a pittance. A businessman named Asa Candler gathers full control for around $2,300, all in. $2,300 for what becomes one of the most valuable brand names on Earth. The product itself has barely changed since. Hold that thought. It's the first pillar. Most companies live on a treadmill, reinvent the product every few years or die. Phones, cars, chips, fashion, their profits are forever being spent on staying alive. Coca-Cola's recipe was finished before the light bulb reached most homes. No research lab has to save it. No model year can flop. When your product never has to change, every dollar it earns is free to go somewhere better than survival. Remember that word, free. 1899. 2 lawyers from Chattanooga ask Candler for the right to put the drink in bottles. Candler thinks bottling is a sideshow and sells the bottling rights nationwide, essentially forever, for $1. It looks like the worst deal in business history. It becomes the best. Because from that day on, other people's money builds the plants, buys the glass, runs the trucks. Coca-Cola sells them concentrated syrup, a teaspoon of secret at an enormous margin, and lets the bottlers do the heavy lifting. The company kept the profits of a giant and the balance sheet of a boutique. Here's what that structure looks like in the accounts, and it's the part you can reuse on any company you ever analyze. A car maker might keep 6 or 7 cents of every sales dollar as operating profit after feeding its factories. Coca-Cola keeps roughly 30 as of the recent accounts because the expensive part of its industry lives on someone else's books. When you read any business, ask this before anything else. Who owns the heavy assets, them or someone else? The answer usually decides who gets rich. Pillar 3 is the one on the label. In 1943, the company promised every American serviceman a Coca-Cola for a nickel, anywhere in the world, and built dozens of bottling plants abroad, largely at the government's expense, to deliver it. The war ended, the plants stayed. So did the habit of half a planet. A brand this deep is not a logo. It is permission to charge a little more, every year, forever, without losing the customer. 1 extra penny per serving across 2 billion daily servings. Do that arithmetic and you understand why Buffett calls brand the widest moat there is. The company once proved its own moat by accident. In 1985, it changed the formula, New Coke, and the country revolted. 79 days later, the original was back, and the lesson was carved in stone. The brand doesn't belong to the company. It belongs to the customers. That's the final test of a great business. It can survive its own management's worst idea. Very few companies pass it. This one passed in under 3 months. Put the three pillars together and look at what an owner receives. The dividend has been raised every year for more than 60 consecutive years. Berkshire Hathaway bought its stake between 1988 and 1994 and has never added a share. Yet its ownership keeps creeping upward because the company retires its own shares year after year. The machine buys itself back for its owners while they sleep. That is what a perfect business looks like from the owner's chair. You do nothing, and your share of the profits grows anyway. So the checklist you take away: a product that never has to change, someone else owning the heavy assets, and a brand that works as a pricing machine. Find all three in one company, and you found something rare. But end on the discipline because it matters. A perfect business is not automatically a good purchase. Quality and price are two different questions, and the second one is a different video. People who confuse them have lost money on this very company for a decade at a time. Great business, always. Great purchase, that depends on the price you're offered. If you want to run this checklist on real companies with the full accounts in front of you, the platform at agenticsovereigncapital.com does exactly that, every day. And the Academy teaches the whole craft from the first line of an income statement. This episode is education, not investment advice, and nothing in it is a recommendation. Next on Great Businesses, another machine hiding in plain sight. See you there.